What's up, guys? Welcome into another Friday Fix episode. I'm your host, Christian Williams, and I'm here with Randy Hall, as always. Randy, how are you, man?
Doing pretty good, man. Fun Friday. Have an early Saturday, but shit happens.
Shit happens. That's how we live life. We're also here with our boy, Matt Too Frosty FF, right? That's your Twitter at?
No more. No, I took that out.
You took that
the
FF out? Oh,
took it
shit.
out.
All right. Good stuff. So, Matt, dude, how are you doing tonight?
I'm great, guys. It's awesome to be here with you guys.
Yeah, how many streams have you been on? I haven't seen you on too many, but to be honest,
I do a little clubhouse here and there, and I popped on a few streams back when I first started out, but not too many now.
It's good stuff. Well, this is the one. We have a lot of fun on here, and you're a Saints fan, correct?
I am. I'm a huge Saints fan, so this should be fun.
Yeah, I figured when you were bargaining to get on here. So, guys, we are talking about the New Orleans Saints today. It truly is the definition of a fix because the New Orleans Saints have a lot of things to clean up. Before we get started, though, make sure you guys go subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast app. Just search the Cut FFB. We should be the first one to pop up, and our logo is like down in that corner over there. You'll see us there. Follow us on socials at the Cut FFB, and then we'll plug our individual stuff later. I don't want to plug anything except for my mock draft, which I just pumped out today. And Matt, your article this morning as well.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, I did drop an article today on Claypool.
It's been a long day, man. That feels like it was 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I've been working on it for 3 weeks, so I get that.
Fair enough. A great article, man. I didn't mean to discredit that.
No,
my mock draft is much worse than your Claypool breakdown. I just literally am guessing shit. But all right, let's get right into it. What's that?
It's almost like that's what a mock draft is.
Yeah, that's certainly all it is, really. Randy, I know you're working on your mock. What's the ETA there?
Well, next week. I'll get it done next week. Busy weekend, but we'll figure it out.
Sounds good. Matt, they want to know why Too Frosty.
You want the story? Okay. Back in high
story.
school, I went by Matty Ice, right? But I couldn't have that nickname. Matt Ryan had it. So I was like, okay, I got to come up with something new. I was on the tennis court in senior year, and a guy goes, look, it's Matt Too Frosty. That's how it came about.
That's solid.
So I was like, all right, that's it. That sticks. Matt Too Frosty.
Just like Christian's nickname. Someone was just like, bald!
Facts. Yeah. I mean, hey, I had someone, I don't know if we talked about it, but someone hopped in the DMs. I think it was probably someone that's watching right now and said, oof, to my face. Thank you, if that was you. Thought that was very nice. But all right, let's get into the Saints. We've been bullshitting too long. If this is your first Friday fix, we do go over the GM and coaching situation, the state of the team, the current cap situation, which is just a big old fucking oof for the Saints, and then a 4-round mock draft this time because the cap situation is a big old oof. So that'll be a quicker segment today. But first, let's start with the general manager and coaching situation. Randy, you talked to me about Mickey Loomis. Let's hear it.
Well, both GM and coach pretty much locked in for what seems like forever. Mickey Loomis in his 17th year with the Saints, 15th year as GM. Honestly, has always been pretty successful drafting at every position except maybe linebacker, just because it seems to be a position they don't give a shit about entirely. But he, as well as everyone that's been in that organization, has always just drafted best player available, usually on the board, even if they have that roster position already locked up, it seems like. And while maybe it gives them too much depth at times, this is definitely a year that it was a good thing they did that.
Yeah, I mean, certainly. Now, this has been a stable organization. As you said, it's been a very long time. It feels like they've been locked in forever. Matt, I heard a little rumor from you, direct source, that you're not a huge Sean Payton fan as a Saints fan. Let's hear it.
So I'm not. He is an offensive genius. He's a Super Bowl winner. He's that risk it, biscuit kind of guy. But I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the 4 years of losing. I'm tired of having the best roster on paper the last 4 years and not getting that elusive championship. I'm tired of the unnecessary money, and whether that's him or Mickey Loomis. I do think he plays a factor in decisions on that football team. I trust him. I do trust him to make draft decisions. I trust him to develop players, but I don't trust him to win us big games. I don't think that's in his blood. I think the players back in 2009 had more to do with it than he did. I'm not sold that Sean Payton is this locked-in head coach, top head coach in the National Football League. And again, it's hard to find a replacement. Like, you're not going to find a level of Sean Payton right away, but it hasn't worked, right? Like, you're not going to learn anything if you don't change anything. So I'm ready. I'm ready to kick rocks with Sean Payton. I'm ready to start fresh. I want to gut the team.
Yeah. I mean, I hear you there. I think too, as Browns fans, for sure. Like, I do think that even that one Super Bowl is enough to keep a guy there for a long time, just simply because I've seen, Randy, how many coaches do you think we've seen from the Browns in our lifetime?
Jesus Christ.
Probably seven, 8.
Probably like 10, dude, at least.
You think? Yeah, probably.
We're not young anymore, dude. Like, we're still young, but we're not young. I mean, you haven't inherited since 16, but still.
That's facts. Yeah.
Also.
But so, yeah, I hear you for sure. I do think, like you said, the Saints were the best team on paper for multiple years, especially the last 3. Obviously, you can make the argument that Drew Brees had fallen off a little bit, and you had concerns about the Saints coming into the year. But I believe, Randy, in our schedule prediction episode, as a group, we picked the Saints to go to the Super Bowl preseason. So high expectations there. I don't really remember back that far, but
you know how many shows we've done since then?
Just a lot. But yeah, so that's a very good point. And then that kind of leads into our state of the team, which is definitely different this week, because we're looking at 2 completely different rosters. So last year, the Saints had the 12th best pass DVOA on offense and the 1st best rush DVOA on offense. They also had the 3rd best pass DVOA on defense and the 2nd best rush DVOA on defense. So they were a very good team. I don't know if there are other teams. I would say probably the Bucs would have posted that level of consistency across the board on both offense and defense. But other than that, it's the Saints. And so now we can move directly into the current state of the roster, which we'll start with cap situation. Randy, talk to me about the Saints cap. Let's hear it.
Oh, it's fucked. There. It's been fucked for months. Yeah, for sure, Thomas. They got it down to below for like a second, and then they just re-signed a couple people, and now they're way back over. Right now, they're at negative 1.4 million on the top 51, which is what's really being counted for like this second. But the total cap, they're negative 6.3, and truly going through Spotrac, it's hard to see where they get 6.3 million from. I don't understand how they do. The 1.4, I could get that, but we'll see what happens.
So, Matt, talk to me about all your favorite players that are gone now.
Damn.
Well, to start, my favorite player that's gone is obviously Drew Brees. Living, walking legend in NOLA. No matter what happens, he should be enshrined in that city. What he did on the field and off the field, nothing but respect. But not to get my feelings here. Let's move past Drew Brees.
Fair.
Yeah, it's tough.
I think losing Trey Hendrickson's going to be big. I think he was a stable piece in that offense last year. He constantly got to the quarterback, constantly erupted the offensive lines, constantly gave the quarterback all he could handle. I think he did more for the defensive side of the ball than Cameron Jordan did this past season. I think he's a huge loss. I know it's, again, with the cap, you're not going to be able to bring everybody back. So it is tricky. I think that losing Janoris Jenkins, the Jackrabbit, I don't think that's as big as some people are kind of blown it up to be. I'm not sold that Janoris Jenkins was this stable cornerstone player for the Saints. Now that Marshawn Lattimore is locked up, it does get a little tricky.
2 different ways.
Yeah, definitely. So he's locked up contractually. He's also locked up in our neck of the woods because he did get arrested for receiving stolen property, I guess is what we would call it. I don't know.
I think he didn't allow the law enforcement. Didn't notify them of the gun either. So
fair.
Yeah, it's not a good look because it was definitely. I think it specified that it was a gang related police investigation, and that's how he was caught. So I think there's it's some John Wall shit happening.
Yeah.
But maybe not. Maybe it's just he's stealing things and taking them. But
maybe I made the joke that I can't wait for him to be a Brown next year after yet another Ohio player coming in and getting arrested. It's tremendous. Let's see if there's a video this time.
Randy, hit me with the rest of the guys that they lost.
Jesus Christ. Well, they Quan Alexander, Janoris Jenkins, Emmanuel Sanders, Nick Easton, Jason Vanderlaan, Cole Wick, Jared Cook, Josh Hill, Thomas Morstead, Trey Hendrickson, like you said, Sheldon Rankins, Justin Hardy, Alex Anzalone. Oh God, sorry, I have to keep reading. Craig Robertson, PJ Swearinger, Ken Crawley, Will Clapp. I think Little Jordan Humphrey's a restricted free agent. I don't know who else would sign him. So yeah, and then they also traded away Malcolm Brown for a 7th. So and then obviously Drew Brees. So they are a fucking different team right now.
Yeah, and that's not even the entire list. Like that's the condensed list. There are still other guys that are on this list that they lost, but just aren't as important. Guys like Johnson Bonamosi. I don't even remember who he didn't say because the list is just it's a full roster.
I don't think I said Betty Fowler. Maybe that's rude, but
yeah,
it's an extensive list. They pretty much have Taysom Hill, Winston. Their tackles right now, Lattimore kind of, Cam Jordan.
We got Interest Pete.
Demario Davis, Will Lutz, Michael Thomas if he plays. I don't know if he's going to play. You never know with these wide receivers. It seems like so.
Yeah. So we don't mean to sound like Debbie Downers here. The Saints situation is not great. What they were able to do is, and you mentioned it, they brought back Jameis Winston. And so that's a move that didn't really make a ton of sense, but it also indicates that they don't have full faith in Taysom Hill, which they shouldn't because Taysom Hill is a tight end. So you don't want a tight end playing quarterback in the NFL. You definitely would like a quarterback playing quarterback, and Jameis has done it people have their opinions about Jameis Winston, but he did it at a high level because he threw for 5,000 yards and led the league in touchdowns. Of course, he also led the league in interceptions, but you take what you can get. At least he can throw the ball and doesn't play tight end. So it was a move that really didn't make sense contractually or cap-wise, but they make it work. They always make it work. They obviously, we mentioned they still have work to do to get back under the cap so they don't lose draft picks, but they do have their starting quarterback, I assume. Randy, do you agree with that?
Yeah, for at least a year. We're definitely a show that believes in Jameis Winston. Obviously, he may throw a few too many turnovers, but at least he's going to throw the ball. I mean, he's going to take risks. He's going to make big plays. He's going to have exciting football, and the Saints need that. And they're a little bit more of a controlled offense. He's going to have a way better running game than he's ever had. So I'm all for it.
I think with the Jameis signing, it really highlighted two things for me. It highlighted that Mickey Loomis is once again banking on the cap to go back up next year, and he's also banking on Jameis Winston becoming a superstar. I think he's realizing that even with the roster now, even with the guys they had to cut, that they do still have their cornerstone players in Jordan, Ramczyk, Armstead, Thomas, Kamara, all these players that they really do believe are these cornerstone pieces. He believes Jameis can get them over that hump. He believes Jameis can still fight for that playoffs, fight for the Super Bowl. I don't believe it. I think they do. I think they really do. I think they're pushing the chips once again right back into the center, trying to push for that elusive Super Bowl. I think it's going to cost them. But who knows? Jameis could be that superstar. I don't know. I don't think he is. I think he's above average at best, a middling quarterback at worst. So it'll be an interesting season. It will be fun football to watch, like Randy said.
Yeah, I do think.
I was going to say people only remember the 30 turnovers. They don't remember the 5,000 passing yards and 30 plus touchdowns. The dude can light up the scoreboard on both sides of the ball.
Yeah. Exactly. But the thing is people will cite, well, he had to throw all that because he was always down because of him. Well, the problem, like, what happens when he does fix his interception problem? Because he worked under Drew Brees for a full year. He's working in a system that's a little more friendly to quarterbacks, and the fact that everyone who steps into Bruce Arians' offense struggles. Tom Brady kind of broke that mold, but he did struggle at times in the beginning of the year, and people were calling him washed. That's because Bruce Arians runs a very, I wouldn't say archaic, but definitely an offense that leads to a lot of interceptions. Well, that's what Jameis got. Obviously, he set his career high the last time he started at a high level for a long time. But what do you guys put stock? Do you guys put any stock into the fact that Jameis didn't start after Drew Brees went down last year because they were trying to keep his price low? Do you guys buy into that? Go ahead.
I don't.
You don't?
I don't. I think that Taysom was better suit to run the offense that Sean Payton designed last year. I think the offense was meant to be kept in tight, let the playmakers make plays. Drew Brees was never meant to extend his arm. Taysom Hill is that same prototypical quarterback that can't extend the field. Jameis couldn't come in there and run his plays and open up the field. Taysom could keep it tight and condensed that Payton had designed for this year to go. I think that's why he said it was the best bet to go out and win football games, let our defense win us the games, let the run game win us the games. We're not going to rely on Jameis Winston's arm to go out there and save us football games when the playbook isn't designed to do that. I think now the playbook's going to be designed to open the field. I think it really is. I think it's going to open up the playbook a lot. They really couldn't with Taysom. They really couldn't with Brees. I think it's going to be interesting if they do take a whole season to game plan around Jameis Winston. I think that Sean Payton can get creative. It'll be interesting. I think it's going to be another season, though, that they're going to push those chips to the center.
I think maybe they felt that Winston wasn't fully ready at the time, but let's be honest. I think they needed, for as many games as they could, test out the theory of Taysom Hill. I think they saw what they needed to see, and that's why Jameis is back. I think a whole year of Taysom, they could have won some games, no question. And he could have been probably QB1 in fantasy because he runs the ball in the end zone. Now, would they have won a playoff game or anything? Probably not. And the offense had been ultra limiting. I probably wouldn't want anyone else on the offense top in the draft for fantasy. So I'm glad Winston's there because I think everyone can excel now.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see that slant boy nickname go away, because I think Michael Thomas is actually going to get to run routes that are downfield a little bit more. But that kind of leads into our next piece. So I do want to mention as an aside, they were able to sign Nick Vannett for some reason and with no money. Don't understand the signing. It was a 3-year deal. I think there has to be void years on that. It's probably a 1-year deal that they extended out for 3.
I'm buying a jersey.
I wouldn't. Taysom's still going to be the starting tight end, and then I think they have belief in Adam Trautman. So if you kept shares of him for some fucking reason, good job. Well, yeah, that's
this also lends itself. It lends me to believe that there's going to be a little more 12 personnel in this offense. In terms of, you've got Nick Vannett as your blocking tight end. It's what Jameis did for a majority of his career with the Bucs. I mean, he ran with O.J. Howard and Cameron Brate quite a bit. He obviously didn't get the opportunity to play with Gronk, but that was a staple of that that Bucs offense when Jameis did throw a lot of touchdowns. So I think Vannett sees the field probably too much, but
yeah,
we'll see.
I mean, Josh Hill saw the field too much, so
yeah,
that is accurate.
Yeah, I think we can have an exciting team here with Jameis, and if he has 5 less turnovers in his last starting year, they probably make the playoffs that season. So if he cuts it down a little bit more, if he's got like at most like 20 turnovers this season, I think he could be a prolific quarterback again.
Yeah. Yes, but the transition that kind of went away because I brought that up was team needs. So I guess I can say they don't necessarily need a tight end because they signed Nick Vannett, but they still do because they need pretty much everything. So, Randy, what would you say their biggest need is?
Well, right now it feels like cornerback. That's got to be at the worst top 3. I think wide receiver and edge are definitely up there as well, followed by linebacker and safety. Linebacker is definitely a big need, but they seem to never address it, or they only address it for a year, it seems. They need safeties of the future, D tackles of the future. They pretty much cleaned out a lot of the team, especially D tackle. So you at least need one in this draft. I would say if you want to take a shot at more of a athletic tight end in the future, it makes sense. Possibly a quarterback in the future, because you really are going to try and figure out that whole situation in 1 year here. And then we talked about it before, possibly having to get rid of one of your starting tackles just to be under the cap this year. Maybe that's a bigger need. Right now, it's a very lower end depth need. They definitely need a tackle 3, but we'll see see what else they can do. Like I said, there's no solution in my immediate looking at Spotrac to fix their cap.
Yeah, Matt, what would you say the biggest need is?
I think it's edge. I think that Cameron Jordan hit that cliff. I think he's still on the downward trajectory of ball play. I don't think he's that level of elite, go get the quarterback kind of guy anymore. I think we can see him become a veteran player, a rotational player, but he's not. What in a year is he going to be an every snap player? I doubt that. He hit a cliff last year. He did not spark on the defense, but every once in a while, he reminded me a lot of just a guy that couldn't do it. He couldn't do it every play anymore. So I think that going out and addressing that edge and that cornerback position, I think the defense is really where they need to bulk up this season. I think they need to let the defense refigure itself out.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of those pieces that we talked about that they lost were definitely from the defense with, like you said, Trey Hendrickson being one of the main pieces. I think that's going to prove to be a bigger loss than people would initially expect. But with that being said, so now it's time for our 4-round mock draft, which allows for 5 picks this time. So allowing ourselves a little bit more time to talk through these. We all kept our picks because trading is pretty much impossible salary-wise unless we're just trading back and acquiring more picks, which is definitely a possibility. We had talked about maybe trading that 28th pick, but none of us did it. So we'll just go down the line the same way that we do normally. So first, Randy, hit us. I put the FF in here too, by the way, Matt. I'm sorry.
That works. No, it works. It works. It works.
All right. Well, with the recent news of yet another back surgery for Caleb Farley, he's apparently falling down a ton of people's boards. Before that injury, he was a good amount of people's cornerback 1. So if he is truly falling down the boards, I think the Saints have to capitalize on that at a huge position of need, especially if Lattimore misses any time. He's pretty much the only corner of value on the roster right now. So I think quite possibly the best corner in the draft. He just has some injury concerns. Well, there's a ton of these guys that they're going to have to take a shot because they need an absolute they have to transition this entire defense. They need depth and a lot of top-end talent day one. Farley's the best talent on the board every time.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't disagree. So in my mock, I had him going 15, I believe, which was a slip. I mean, that would have been CB3. Or no, I had 22 because I had the Patriots trade back and, of course, get one of the best corners in the draft because that's what Patriots do. But yeah, Farley, if he pans out, he's got the upside of CB1. Getting him at 28 would be phenomenal. Matt, who's your first round pick?
I went Jalen Phillips. I think I have a first round grade on Jalen Phillips. I do think he's a monster off that edge. It's kind of the same thing with Farley. The injury concern does kind of worry some people, so he is falling into the late first, early second. I think he's that dynamic talent that you compare next to the veteran in Jordan, can learn from Jordan. He's got an explosive first step. I like everything about Jalen Phillips' game. I think he's going to bring a lot to that front four of that defense that was kind of gutted. So that's where I win at 1.28.
Yeah, that's a pick I really do like. I love Jalen Phillips. I think if he hadn't retired from football, we'd have a vastly, vastly different perspective on what Jalen Phillips is. Even if he wasn't super productive, most of the lack of productivity comes from the injuries. I don't think Jalen Phillips has lost a step or anything like that either. I mean, kid is good, very good at football. And then I went with Elijah Moore, which these guys made fun of me for it, but I do think that there is a chance that Elijah Moore gets first round draft capital, and this is actually what the pick was in my mock. I think they need to go out and get some pass catchers because I think, like Matt said earlier, I think they are going to open up the offense a little bit, and they're going to need Michael Thomas to run downfield. So why not get a guy that can work underneath like Elijah Moore? This dude just catches everything in his path. I don't think he had a drop all season. Him and Kyle Pitts might be the only two in this draft like that. So Elijah Moore fixes your receiver need, and hopefully Jameis can get him the ball.
I do want to say something on that. I don't hate Traquan Smith. I think he's actually good to an extent. I think he can be a number 3 receiver. Now, if you do believe Elijah Moore can be that too, I don't hate this pick, but I don't necessarily think he walks in as a number 2. So it's a weird situation with the Saints. Like, I don't know if they're going to push, like I said, are they pushing all the chips? Maybe they do just go offensive heavy and see how many points they can score. Maybe they do. If that's the case, I do like this pick. I'm just not sold. I'm not a huge Elijah Moore guy. I'm not sold he can be that wide receiver 2. I think Traquan Smith's going to see another boost in targets this year. I think he showed out last year when he had the opportunity. I liked what I saw. It's just he doesn't get the targets. I don't know if that's because he's bad. I like what I see. So I like the pick. I don't hate it. It's just not where I would go at wide receiver in the first round.
I mean, it's fair. I mean, Rashad Bateman's on the board here. We talked through that before. I don't think Bateman gets first round capital. I think he should. He's my wide receiver 1. He's the best wide receiver in this class, in my opinion. However, I do think that going to a slot guy when you don't, like, even if you have Traquan Smith, you don't really have anything outside of that. You have Kamara as your wide receiver 2/3. So I understand what Matt's saying, though, for sure. Randy, hit us with your second round pick.
All right, well, I went with a guy I know can be a solid wide receiver 2 for a team day 1, and that's Amon-Ra St. Brown. Even if people are questioning his talent slightly, his build and his body of work clearly says that he could be an outside guy for you and inside guy. I think he starts day 1 for them. They need another guy on the outside to allow Traquan Smith and all the other just kind of speed guys that they have to work in across the middle at different times, maybe shoot deep while him and Michael Thomas are doing all the other work. They need to draft at least 1 receiver in this draft, if not 2 or 3. Now, I do think they need to completely retool the defense, but they don't have wide receiver depth or truly talent behind Michael Thomas. Traquan Smith is your best chance at another receiver, and he's probably a question mark as a wide receiver 3 for a team. We've been waiting for 2 years for him to truly break out. He can't do it. So a little bit of Equinemius St. Brown and all the Packers receivers kind of situation with Traquan. So I'm going to take the best St. Brown of the entire family and have him here to be just a solid target for Jameis Winston.
Yeah, I love it. St. Brown actually bumped up in my rankings from his workout, not because it was his workout, but because he weighed in around what he was playing at, but he measured in about 2 inches shorter, so his BMI got jacked up. So bumped up in the rankings, and I love Amon-Ra. I've been talking about this dude. You and I both have, Randy, talked about Amon-Ra for a long time. So, all right, Matt, you're up. Second round.
I went Tylan Wallace. Tylan Wallace is my guy in this class. If I had to, get a jersey, it's going to be him in Fields. But I liked everything I saw in Tylan Wallace, and I think he could be an absolute stud. He's a go up and get it kind of guy. So he fits what the Saints are going to look for. If they want Michael Thomas to continue run those mid routes, it'll be interesting.
I've said on here multiple times, especially after the Senior Bowl, I view Tylan Wallace as one of the safer picks in the draft. With an upside of being your wide receiver 2, maybe an outside chance he's a wide receiver 1 for a franchise, but really I think he's wide receiver 2, day 1 wide receiver 3, no matter what. I see no way Tylan Wallace busts. But there's a limited ceiling, but he's going to be incredibly good.
Yeah, I don't hate that eval at all. I don't think he busts because I don't think he gets the draft capital to condone calling him a bust. I think he is what he is, but I knew what you were saying.
Yeah.
That he's going to be productive, and it definitely helps that he's being selected in the second or third round here. All right, I'm up. The linebacker out of Kentucky that I keep freaking talking about, it's Jamin Davis. This is a guy that I think should be off the board well before this. I think he has first-round talent. And while I do think that, I don't think he gets selected there. Just based on the fact that not many people know his name. There's still like draft analysts that haven't really talked much about Jamin Davis. So I think he is still there for the Saints. And like we talked about, linebackers in need, they seem to quick fix it a lot. It's time to stop quick fixing it, and it's time to get someone in there that can be the staple of your defense for quite a while. So I went with Jamin.
Yeah, he's a guy that's been flying up the board while a lot of other guys are just falling. Like a guy I selected in the third, Dylan Moses. There's still tons of questions about his health and him being able to be the athlete again, where Jamin Davis is automatically day 1 a better athlete. He is insane speed, athletic freak. I think he's going to be great at the next level. He's definitely going to the second round. Well, there's plenty of other guys going in that second round that pushes other guys down. Jamin Davis, I think I'd still have Jabril Cox over him, but there's a good chance he's gone at this pick. So,
all right, hit us with your edge rusher that you picked, Randy.
All right, well, I went with Jordan Smith, edge out of UAB. There's a lot of the mock drafts I was doing. There's guys like Tyron and Basham that were like falling to this pick. I don't see that happening. I think there's a solid chance Jordan Smith is there. He'll be a solid, at least rotational fit for the first year. Again, it's the third round. Will he be able to start for this team? Probably, just because of all the losses they had. But I think he's going to give you juice day 1. Worst case, by the second year, he'll be at least a valuable starter. And I'm all for that. They need edge help bad, as we've already prefaced.
Yeah, which I'm now understanding that was a big oversight for me. But the guy that I'll talk about here in a second could probably bounce out and play a little bit of edge rusher because he's not super thick boy-esque. But I like Jordan Smith a lot, man.
Yeah, I'm not finished with this tape yet. Obviously, this is our Monday show is going to be edges. But from what I've seen the first couple games, I do like what I see. He's going to probably get a third round grade for me, but that's not a bad thing. Like that's still a day 2 pick, really good pick. I did see some guys in the comments saying that their like comments in our comment section were being limited. Me and Christian are not doing that. I don't know what the program is doing with that. I apologize, but just letting you guys know.
Yeah, we don't free speech.
I wouldn't limit your comments.
Clearly. All right. I am going to go next, and I'm going to talk about Osa Odigizua I think that's how you pronounce his name. I wrote down the pronunciation. I don't know if it's correct. But Osa is a guy that he's definitely what you would call a tweener. And so I think I think that you can play him at an edge position. I don't know that D tackle is necessarily the biggest need that the Saints have, but I do think that this is a guy that they can get some production out of. So I went with him in the third. Now I know Matt said that he thinks that this is a little bit of a reach, but it is 7 picks later that he also takes Osa. So that's right around the range. And when I was doing some mocks, Osa was the last guy that I really liked on day 2 that was sitting there at 98. So I jumped at him. I went and got him. And then, Randy, do you have any thoughts on Osa? Have you studied him yet?
I have not. I think no, I don't think I've studied him at all, honestly. So I don't want to speak out of turn, but from what I know, he can be like a 3-4 scheme, like edge. Right now, I think, and also be kind of a 4 tech D tackle or 3 tech, obviously. But he is a little bit versatile. I think if they draft him, they're going to have to figure out what they want him to do, like weight wise and everything, to figure out what position he's going to play, because they definitely need to define his role, at least to start for this first year, because he is going to need some season at the next level. But everyone is once you get to this point.
Yeah, for sure. And then it looks like Matt's having some microphone problems. So I will read off his pick, which is Andre Cisco, the safety out of Syracuse. People are all over the board on this guy. Ultimately, I think that there are people who think he's an early second-round pick, and then there are people who say he's a day 3 guy. I personally haven't studied too much Andre Cisco. I don't have a ton of analysis for Cisco. However, I know that I want to say he's a really good coverage safety. I might be lying. Randy, do you know?
You know what? I won't speak on that. You know what I mean? Like, I've definitely watched his teammate a few too more than him. From what I've gathered, he's going to go in the 3rd round though. Cisco. He's a little bit of a combination safety from what I've quickly seen, but I do want to dive deeper before I give that away. But I mean, they need safety help bad. Maybe they don't need a day 1, but they definitely need the depth. Worst case, he can come in and be an extra DB on nickel and dime packages. They need depth everywhere.
They do,
so
for sure. All right, Randy, hit us with your last 2 picks, and then we'll just go our last 2 each.
Okay, I went with Dylan Moses, who I do think could be here very late in the 3rd round. Someone's going to take a shot at him in the 3rd, in my opinion, but he's a guy that there are so many question marks on. In every interview he's had since his injury, he's basically said the first game this season was the only time he's felt like himself, and he's been in constant pain since then. That's big red flags, especially we're not going to get full medicals on a lot of people. It'll be better than we had last year, but it's scary. I think he still goes day 2, but with those kind of red flags, I think he falls down the board. But like you said, they need a linebacker in the future. I think Dylan Moses will get it back on track. Worst case, if he's really struggling with that pain, don't ask him to be a starter year 1. I mean, he's a guy that I would be willing to take the year and let him get healthy. But if he could play day 1, I think he can be a game changer for this defense. I don't know if he's your Mike linebacker right now. I think he's going to change to Sam or Will for the future. But I think he could be your 10-year starting Sam linebacker.
Yeah, see, I think his best upside is definitely still at Mike, but
I think it could be as well. I'm just, you know what I mean?
Like the contingency plan, right?
Yeah, because he still showed good enough speed that if he's on the outside linebacker type position, he can get everyone on the field, even with him being a little banged up. So if we're talking he's full healthy, I think he could be a Mike linebacker for sure. But if we're still a question mark, it's got to be Sam for me. Probably not Will. I'd probably like a for sure just pure speed coverage guy at Will, where Moses is definitely a good blitzer. He's good at everything if he's healthy. Yeah. And then finishing off, I went with Marvin Wilson. Another guy that's been falling down the board all draft process. There was talks of him going in the first round when we started this in December. There's no shot of that now, especially at the Senior Bowl. Fourth round is where he's going. If they can get him figured out, which they've done with a ton of guys, they've really taken shots on guys and they've all worked out really. So I think Marvin Wilson could really come through. Maybe he needs to change his body type slightly, but with what I've seen from him, he deserves to get picked here in the fourth. And I think he can be a solid, at worst case, rotational D tackle for the future with some versatility to go for like a 4 or 5 tech edge at certain times. But Marvin Wilson slides down boards, but still here.
One of the weirdest evals when we get to interior defensive line. I don't know where to put him. To be honest, I haven't finalized a grade on him because we'll talk. I don't want to break him down too much because we still have to talk about him on the episode. But weird eval. I will say that. It's 100%. A tease for in 2 weeks, I think. Matt, how's that mic?
I think we're good.
Okay, good. Well,
good stuff.
Run. Well, go quickly over Cisco for us, but run through your last 3 for us.
Yeah.
Man, I really do like Andre Cisco. I kind of caught what Randy was saying there about, that nickel dime package. I think he's that perfect role guy. I think he could come in and be that sub guy that can go and make plays when he's called upon. I think he does have some fundamental things that need refining, but I think all around he's got that ball hawk mentality. He's got a guy that's got a knack for going and getting the football, whether it's with pass deflections or interceptions. I really like his game. I think in the third round here, I think it's good value. It's a guy that's going to come in and play rotational snaps right out of college. He's going to get that experience. He's going to get the play time. I really do like what Cisco brings to, especially here in the third round, to the Saints. Following that, Osa, kind of touching what Christian, he did pick him 7 spots before me. I thought Cisco there is the better value, but I do like Osa. I think he's a ferocious interior defensive lineman. I think he brings another pressure guy like Jalen Phillips that's going to go get the quarterback kind of guy. He can also stop the run. He is versatile for, in the third round. It's hard to find a guy that can almost do it all, but he seems like he can just do about everything. He does need refining in a lot of areas, but he can do most things. He can get to the quarterback. He can stop the run. He can disrupt plays. So I like Osa. And then at 5, I took Keith Taylor. I don't know if a lot of people have watched a lot of Keith Taylor from Washington, but that guy's a zone specialist, man. He seems to read the field a lot better than most cornerbacks can. He seems to know where the play is going to go and how the play is going to develop. I really like Keith Taylor. He had no career interceptions in college, so it was an interesting pick. And a lot of people might not understand that he's more of a guy that's going to be able to deflate zones. He's really good in deflating a side of the football field. He can roam the middle. He's quick. I like a lot of Keith Taylor's game. If he can refine maybe his ball hawking and his man-to-man coverage skills, I think he could be a true number 2 cornerback in the NFL. I really like Keith Taylor from Washington.
Yeah, man. I am happy his hype has gone back down to 3rd or 4th round, but I do really like what he brings. And like you said, he's great in zone. The no career interceptions isn't the worst thing. Sure, he just didn't get thrown to all that often. I mean, Joseph Away doesn't have a sack all year. Jason, sorry. And people think he could be a first-round talent. I know Christian had him in his first round. So the stats necessarily don't matter when we're coming to this part of the draft. I think he's a steal in the 4th, really. Saints may not be the perfect scheme for him, but he was probably by far the best corner left on the board. So fuck it. If he has to be the only corner in zone, screw it. I don't care. It'll work. I think if he's a perfect pick for a team like the 49ers that run a lot of weird concepts like that, or even like the Browns who had to transition around like that, he's going to be a good corner 2, worst case corner 3 in the NFL.
Yeah. I actually haven't gotten deep into the Washington DBs film just yet, just all of them, because that's where Elijah Molden is too, right? So I have a lot to study there.
With Taylor, I actually think he fits the Saints better than expected. I think that he could come in and even play that, maybe the same role Cisco might come in and play, that nickel specialist, the guy that's going to be able to sit in the flat, sit in zones, and literally just do what he's got to do in that specific area of the field. I think that's something the Saints actually value a lot. They valued that in P.J. Robinson. They valued that in Quan Alexander even this past year when he wasn't blitzing. So they like guys that can go out there and basically cut off and, decapitate one part of the field. And I think, Keith Taylor with the right development can be that kind of player.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. And then my last two here, I went with James Hudson, offensive tackle out of Cincinnati. I actually went back-to-back Cincinnati players. So then I also went James Wiggins, the safety from Cincinnati as well. Hudson is a guy that in the third, I just don't think that – I think you're going to see a big run on offensive tackles in the first. I think there's going to be a big gap in the second where not a ton are selected. And then I think that there's going to be a ton of value at the position. And offensive tackle, definitely not the biggest need. But we talked about it earlier. They traditionally go BPA. They go best player available. And at this position, multiple times, I was looking at the board and I was saying, okay, James Hudson, even with some of his issues, I think he is probably the best player available. He's going to come in and probably not have to play, and that's probably best for James Hudson.
Yeah, he's a developmental tackle prospect, but a good one. So
yeah, it's kind of like the Chiefs taking Lucas Niang last year. It's actually
it's
pretty much like the same exact thing. Yeah,
except hopefully he doesn't opt out.
Yeah, facts. And then James Wiggins, the safety from Cincinnati. This is a guy that I haven't completed my eval on, but this is a guy that probably shouldn't fall to the fourth round. He's definitely a guy that gets all over the field. That Cincinnati defense was sneaky good last year, and James Wiggins was a big part of that. So I took him here in the fourth, and I think that, like we talked about, the Saints are in need of safeties of the future. They tagged Marcus Williams, right? That's who they tagged.
Yes. Yeah.
So they tagged him, but it's TBD on if they can even keep him and retain him past this year. So that's what I went with in the fourth. So obviously you guys can see our boards are up there. You can tell us in the comments who has the best drafts. It's probably not me, to be honest, because I don't have a very sexy draft at all. It's definitely not sexy.
Well, I took the cheap shot early, so I'd probably win.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, we're about to bounce. I know, Matt, you have to get out of here in a second.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on. It was fun, breaking down the Saints, the state they're in now, the future state, and the draft and the difference makers they will bring in this season. I'm excited as a Saints fan for 2021. Beyond that, I'll halt the excitement in smiles, but I really am hopeful for 2021. I hope Jameis Winston can come in and prove himself again, and like when people can earn their money. So. It was fun coming on with you, Christian. I know we've been talking on Twitter over half a year now. It's good to, sit down and do one of these. Randy, it's been awesome with you as well. I love watching you guys and hearing the podcast. So,
well, thanks, man. It was great having you, and we'll definitely have you on, and we definitely need to set up a call to talk about that draft guide stuff. So we'll be in touch. You know that.
All right. Well, you guys have a great night.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Take care.
Thank you.
All right. So we'll finish up here. Randy, what were you going to say about our draft?
I was going to say I think all three make complete sense. I do think I wish you would have drafted an edge, but you have some flexibility. But and Elijah Moore, I'm definitely against the first, but I understand. He's like my wide receiver 6, so there's not a lot of hate there. Saints are a weird team, man. I've been hoping for this one to get picked, mainly for Matt to come on probably, but they're a team like the Eagles when we had Adam on. It's the same thing. I dreaded having to try and fix the team because of this kind of situations. But great to have Matt on. Please go check out his articles. We always are going to promote those. But he just had one for Claypool. And
he also did a David Montgomery one recently. That was really good.
That's true. I don't necessarily agree with that one, but I always love the process. Speaking of, we have to discuss a trade after this.
Fair enough.
Right.
Yeah. So, all right, that is our New Orleans Saints Friday fix.
I was gonna say, are you gonna do it again?
However, you guys know what time it is. It's time for Marvel. Randy, did you watch? So, did you watch episode 2 as well?
Yes, I watched episode 2. I actually watched it about an hour before we got on here. Definitely a lot more action in these first 2 episodes that we ever saw in WandaVision, but there's some weirdness. Yeah. I definitely don't like the new Captain America, mainly because honestly, I don't mind like his character or nothing. I hate how he looks in the mask.
I want to punch his face.
He looks like a fucking old man in the mask. He looks like an old man without his dentures, just the mouth like scrunched up.
I'll tell you what.
Looks like Steve Rogers would look like right now.
Yeah, that's so true. So I was talking to Nikki and I looked over at her. I said, they're making us care about this guy at the beginning of the episode. Now, guys, spoilers. If you haven't watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier, episode 2, please bounce out. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you, but I don't want to spoil anything. That's why we have that little ticker. So when he was in the locker room getting ready to run out and do his Captain America thing, I was like, man, this guy's pretty good. Then they got into that interview, and he's a nice war veteran that he earned a ton of medals, and he was kind of deserving of becoming Captain America in that sense. But then by mid-episode, like, I wanted Bucky to just take his arm and rip the freaking shield out of his hand.
100%. Yeah, there's just some weirdness. I also find it weird that he has a black sidekick, basically, which is what people thought Falcon was for Steve. So I find that really like awkward and almost rude to an extent. But I understand, like, he's like a lifelong friend, like Steve Bucky. But there's a weirdness to that, right?
I think it's intentional, dude. So obviously,
I do too. But
so when they went to see, and I forget his name, but the old guy that Bucky fought in 1951, Isaiah, good call. When they went to see Isaiah, so I've been reading up, and essentially, people didn't think they'd go there, but Isaiah was tested on because obviously this is a time where African Americans were not treated right. And so he was tested on, they pulled the superhero serum, the super serum from his body and then gave it to Cap. And he was in prison for being a superhero. So, I mean, Marvel's going to places that it's going to piss some fans off. And I don't think it matters. I think it's really, really good what they're doing.
It's hard to really keep Marvel fans pissed off because, they put out good content, unlike Justice League fans.
Yeah, that's very true. Did you watch the Snyder Cut? Yeah,
I haven't. I don't have 4 hours to set aside with all of our shows and scouting and work, and I mean it's impossible. I will sit down and watch it. It won't be this weekend, obviously, because I'm a little busy with family stuff. But one of these days, I'll get to it. But yeah, I thought this episode was solid. I think there's definitely going to be a lot of riffs with the new captain and his friend, which I obviously don't remember his name because it's not important at this time, and Falcon and Bucky. But it's a weird spot. I mean, it really is.
So here's my thing with Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I wish they would have gotten super serum or something. I don't know why they were going to get it. I don't know if it was, I don't remember what they said, but I am very, very intrigued to see how this conversation goes. I know we said spoilers, but I don't really want to talk about the thing that happened at the end there, because that's a pretty massive spoiler. So when they were going to the prison cell to talk to the guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Vague enough,
it is a massive spoiler and also confusing, really. Like when you break it down, like
it doesn't make a ton of sense.
Well, it doesn't make sense for Bucky specifically to talk to him. Yeah.
Yes.
It's a disastrous outcome, possibly. But I think this next episode is obviously going to be pretty good. Hopefully it's not slow at all. The Super Soldier team definitely looks smart for most of the episode, then looked dumb at the end with the one super soldier thinking he could hold off a bunch of people with guns. Super strength does not mean super impervious to bullets. I don't know why you would think that.
Yeah, it didn't. It didn't really make sense, but I think it was also like them showing that he was basically on a suicide mission. He was just going, and they're one love, one world, or something like that. Is that one person, one world? I don't know.
Some basic ass chant. Like,
yeah, but
it's fine. But yeah, I really do hope there's a bigger bad at the end of it than just that group, because I think that group could easily be defeated.
Yeah. Well, clearly. I mean, they already
just
were
get
close.
Bucky a fucking gun. Just get Bucky a gun. It's over. I mean, let's be real.
And then Rocket, and he can do his little spin thing where him and Rocket are shooting together.
Exactly.
All right. That's going to do it for our Marvel talk here at the end. Someone dropped a comment. Okay. You're weird. You're weird. That's my picture. So you're weird human being. All right. So we will be back next week. The options will be the Vikings, I forget all the teams. The Bills for sure.
I did see in the comments, I believe it was Wustamas, who's always here, asking if we were going to do the Giants. So we'll have the Giants.
Okay.
Anyone that's always in our comments, I'm happy to try and figure it out for them. We'll add them. I don't know if they'll win. It's a franchise that has a lot of fans, but also their fans seem like a lot of haters. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, there's a big Giants following on Twitter, that's for sure. But so yeah, that'll be next Friday. We will be back next week on the podcast talking through our edge rankings, and then we'll also talk through our interior defensive line rankings. Keep an eye out for draft guide news because it's coming. I'm going to be just slicing through that tomorrow, hopefully. So that should be here soon.
And I believe you have either a wide receiver quarterback article coming out. Can't remember which one. And then I have a mock draft coming out next week. So
yeah, and I'm sure Matt's gonna continue grinding out the articles. So a lot of good stuff happening. But
and I also think Brandon has a mock coming out next week.
He does. Yeah, I think it was supposed to come out this week, but then all that shit happened. So
I feel it, bro. We complained about it to each other for a while.
Which we did not talk about. We will talk about that stuff on the podcast. I am positive of that. So.
Yes.
All right. For Randy Hall, I am Christian Williams. Thank you again to Matt, to Frosty for coming on. Make sure you guys toss him a follow. Make sure you follow Randy at rhall NFL and follow me at cwilliams NFL. And then down there, follow us at the Cut FFB.
Yeah.
Like I said, we'll be back next week. For Randy Hall, I'm Christian Williams. We will talk to you guys later. Peace.